Thank you all for joining us for our webinar today. Just a quick instruction in terms of house rules, in terms of what to expect at the webinar. We have a separate Q&A section that we'll be doing right at the end of the webinar. So if you have any questions, feel free to, there's a Q&A option available on your screen. Feel free to pop in some questions during the course of this session, and we'll take your questions right at the end. So if you have any questions or any technical issues that you're facing, there's a chat window for technical issues. But if you have any specific questions that you'd like to ask either Jacqueline, our presenter today, or me, feel free to pop in those questions and we'll take them right at the end of the webinar. Do mind you, we're recording this webinar as well for future use. So all those of you who are logging in and attending right now will get a copy of this webinar along with the presentation that we have here, but it'll be a recorded version of the same. So do bear in mind. All right, I think we're good to go. It's 3 p.m. So good day, everyone. And thanks a lot for joining us today for this webinar, Creating Meaningful Customer Engagement Opportunities in the Evolving Digital Marketplace. So big thanks to all of you. So before we begin, a quick one, I want to do a quick introduction about Freshworks and who we are as an organization. So at Freshworks, we build customer engagement products that help our customers deliver moments of wow. If you haven't heard about us, please feel free to go online, freshworks.com, and read about what we do as a company. We're a company that has $250 million in funding from some of the world's largest investors, including Google Capital, Axel, Tiger, and Sequoia. We have 5 offices globally, and that is growing day by day. We have close to 150,000 businesses who are our customers in 135 different countries. We have 9 products today, and that number is growing as well. And some of our India customers is something that we wanted to highlight, because this webinar just caters not necessarily just for the as well, but we just wanted to highlight some of the Indian customers that we have today. So I'm your moderator. My name is Sandeep John. I head our field marketing initiatives for India and the ASEAN regions. And our presenter for today is Jacqueline Pereira Munkur. She is a CX thought leader. A quick introduction about her. Jacqueline is an accomplished CX thought leader with over 2 decades of rich and diverse experience across sales, marketing, retail, and customer service. Her previous assignments have included the Future Group, Vodafone, AFL, DHL, Borosil, Voltas, Tiffany Foods, UAE. She has also ability-based AI ventures to build and modernize digital assets for better CX and EX. Now, Jacqueline bridges her unique expertise with the industry's CX needs to deliver invaluable insights. So I think we have the right person today for this interesting topic.
Hi, Sandeep, and thank you very much for the kind introduction.
Thanks, Jacqueline. Before we begin, Jacqueline, one second. Before we begin, let me set the agenda for the audience. All right, the agenda for today is that Jacqueline will be covering a few things. She'll talk about digital marketplace. She'll also touch upon the key cornerstones of customer engagement and crystal gaze into some retail trends of 2019. We will then have a small chat with her on some of the top questions that we've had, and we've been collecting some of questions. And then we'll have a separate session where we throw open these questions to you. All right. Now over to you, Jacqueline. The stage is all yours.
Thanks, Sandeep. That was a very crisp introduction. Thank you so much. And thanks for setting the agenda too. A warm welcome to all of you guys who've logged in. This is such a popular topic, and I'm sure there's a lot of interest in a topic like this. So we'll dive straight in. But before we do that, I just want to do a little context setting, because it's not that people don't know about it, but we'll try and get everybody on the same page. So we're talking about 3 terms really, and we're talking about customer experience, and we're talking about digital customer experience. So when you look at defining the customer engagement and its imperatives, so what we really are trying to say is that while 2/3 of global shifting focus from traditional to digital experiences, we really are saying that we have to engage much more and much more smartly with our customers. But what really is customer engagement? Customer engagement really is an ongoing value-driven relationship between a customer. So it's a B2C kind of communication, but it's also C2C kind of communication. And important to know that it is anchored from a central point, that is, people are talking about your brand, about your company, about your products. Okay, and this is really motivated by the customer's reasons in time. A slight difference from customer experience, because customer experience really is a subset of customer engagement, and it's really the perception of your customer and what they perceive about the interactions with your company. So quickly, how a customer perceives really customer experience, it can be at any touch point, and the flow of experiences, which can be either in the online or offline space, is really customer engagement. Another point that we need to know is that, you know, we spend so much of money on a brand building exercise, whereas a brand customers by giving continuous relevant messages with a frequency which we think is predefined and it's proper. And that's how you're trying to build customer engagement. Now, customer engagement, because in the digital space, at least it has become a social phenomenon, straddles both the online and offline interactions. And this phenomena is really in continuous motion, which is why you can say that your brand is being built or rebuilt or even destroyed every moment of the day. Okay, so this really is the difference between customer. When we move to the next slide, which we are really talking about, is what's the difference between CX and DCX. So these are just acronyms which are very simple. It's the difference between customer experience and digital customer experience. As the name suggests, digital customer experiences, whereas customer experience is a larger set, or it's an umbrella, and your digital CX is a subset of customer experience. Now, in customer experience, you have to cover all the traditional and non-traditional or the digital interfaces that your today's world, you find a lot more propensity for customers wanting to get connected in the new age channels. And why is it of interest of people like us who are in corporate life and who are building customer experience experience platforms, is because we want to enhance both the front and optimize the back end processes such that your customer can ultimately get benefited. Because if you root your DCX in an operational excellence and process excellence, then you will use that digital technology. And since we're not running NGOs here, as I often say, so therefore we will be able to quantify how we increase revenue and how we increase growth in most businesses. There are unfortunately a lot of myths about DCX, right? We go further, just take a minute to tell you what are the things that people keep frequently talking to me and saying. One of the most important clarifications that I give people is that your customer is not interested whether you are present in digital or whether you are present in this channel or not channel. Customers want to access your company's products and services in a convenient way possible, regardless of the channel. So that's the first myth that you need to understand. It's very inside out when you talk about saying that I want to build digital customer experience. We always believe that, you know, when you're building a digital customer experience, you have to buy the best products and all the products in the market, or you develop themselves. Actually, DCX has value insofar as the time that you are providing relevant solutions and you are communicating a right message at the right time to the right segment of your customer population. So that's key. And it's not just being present with all the possible paraphernalias that you may think that you have built. Another common myth is that customer technology and strategy. Yes, of course, it is about technology. Yes, technology is a fulfillment of your strategy, and you buy technology which is in line with your strategy. However, the success of digital customer experience is based on the mind. You have to have a build approach with a customer first mindset. Your employees also have to embrace the digital world. Now, we all know that some of our employee bases are of an older demographic segment. Do they have a digital mindset? What is the kind of planning that they will need for them to get enabled and embrace this technology? These are very important for us to consider when we talk about digital customer experience. The other part to it is that there's a another myth that, digital customer experience is only about sales and marketing. And of course, it is to get more revenue, and it's supposed to give you leads and, acquisition and conversions. But the most important thing is, if you neglect customer experience, or if you are neglecting the key point while we are in business, that we have to have endurance, then DCX will really not do the job. Then another thing which I'd like to point out at this point of time is, what are the obstacles for a united CX? Okay. Now, when you have a unified CX which you want to create, why do you want to create a unified CX? CX because a customer experience which is fractured and which is not seamless and which is extremely, in silos, it will not really help you get the great benefit. So you need to have a frictionless journey. For that, it's very important that your teams are the ones who are actually near the customer, and they are the ones who have to be co-opted into this entire development exercise. The other thing is that customer experience really is, and you can disrupt the entire customer experience if you decide to have, a one fit all kind of strategy, or for that matter, if you decide, to suddenly decide one fine day that I'm buying a new application and I'm going to be, because this is the right time for me. So I'm sorry, these things don't work. So these are very, very imperative decision making plannings that needs to be done before you really, get the benefit about customer experience. So these are the things that I thought I'll bring into context before I go on to the next one, which is really the customer of today. I'm calling it the 4 cornerstones. And the first reality really is that your customer is a human being. Okay, you can be a huge corporation, you can be a huge organization, you can have millions of customers and you can have crores of customers, but they are human beings and they want to be treated as, want to be saying that, I am being siloized or I'm segmentized in this one fits all, and there's a very personal, a very patronizing approach towards me. So we have to recognize customers, we have to personalize them, and really the digital world allows you, and you need to talk to customers in the moment. So we find that if a company has been able to make this transition and do a very good balance between personalization and as against spamming and stalking a customer, you will rewards. A simple small example is what I like to give is about something which happened to me 2 or 3 days ago. So I had to renew my my AMC for my car, and as you know, it's a very cutthroat business, and there were several reminders which kept coming. And finally, the operator whom I had bought my last insurance was last on the block. So I waited for him to give me, a link so that I could, pay and renew. But it came too late. There was somebody who beat him to the button, and after got a sort of receipt and everything like that. After 2 days, I get a call, which was an OBD, which tells me that, I need to renew my membership, my insurance. So this is a classic case where everything is perfect, but the timing was wrong. Classic case where they had not understood that I've already paid, and they waited too long for me to have, given them a repeat business. Another point is we like to do a lot of upselling. A lot of us in retail, especially, we have a lot of members and we have memberships, and you want ideally a customer to renew his membership. Now, what happens when a customer wants to renew his membership? He is called and he said, "Hey, listen, please, your membership is expiring, and how do I help you to renew your membership?" For this reminder call, you have to look whether the customer has been on the upswing with giving you his business, or he's been a lapser for a long time. And you have to tailor and communicate accordingly. The worst thing is when you do a kind of outbound 100 people calling and mindlessly calling the customer and asking him to renew. Then the customer tells you, "Oh, but don't you know that I've stopped even coming to your store? And why are you now reminding me?" And there was somebody who had promised to do a complaint. that's not happened. Or there's yet another customer who says that I've given you a detractor rating and your NPS because you asked me to rate your experience. Have you not correlated that information with the reason before calling me? You should have solved the problem and then called me. Talk about where a customer expects to be treated with some level of dignity and just not a way or a vehicle of giving him business. So it's essential that when you deliver these personalized experiences, and if you deliver them well, you will drive customer loyalty. Understands that the company understands them. There's another reality. If you go to the next reality, customers don't like to wait. Okay, so some of us in the traditional customer experience, we have given turnaround times to customers of 40 hours. Oh, that doesn't work anymore. You know, your resolution has to be quick. It has to be speedy. Now, why is it that that happens? Our world has really changed. Smartphones have penetrated the world, and everything is at your fingertips. Add to that, median age in 2020 will be the youngest in the world. Okay, and 46% actually of the population comprises of Gen Z, who have been born after 1998. Now, when you have this amount of youthful predominance in your population, expect customers to wait. These customers are slowly, including the younger millennials, becoming very, very important to commercial life. And they are the ones who are either influencers or they're actual purchasers of whole types of products. And if you then give them an unresponsive service, customers need consistency. So we have classical cases in organizations. Huge organizations have a sales department, then they have a marketing department, then they have a customer has to go from one department to the other, trying to figure out what will it take for people to understand what he's saying. So a classic case, couple of weeks ago, went and bought a Wi-Fi connection, and there's a Netflix which is connection. The salesperson tells me that don't worry, ma'am, as soon as you activate it, someone's going to call you, and then it'll get done, and it's not yet got done. So these are the places where we bring in siloism. We mean very well, but it's an inside-out approach. We are telling the customer one, you will be able to transparently understand what is the problem, and you will be able to fix it quickly. So that's what the customer says, that they need consistency. They want a fluid, a connected experience. And that's something that is very, very important to build trust and for you to get more of their business or to get a longevity of their business. When we look at a requirement, it is what we are saying, which all of us know as customers ourselves. We want preemptive service or proactive service. Fine, we can have the greatest reactive service. I'm not saying that we do not have to resolve customer problems. Problem. Why can't you solution such that you make the entire reactive customer experience almost redundant? Because if you are solutioning with a customer first mindset, then you are creating these digital experiences which are connecting and which bring transparency to the customers. And that's what helps in bringing a delight to a customer when he's associated with you. So finally, we say that, okay, so these are the 4 cornerstones of what a customer wants from us around the world. Okay, because whatever we do in customer experience, because of a very connected customer, he really knows what's happening. Are we then positioning these products and services which are known across the globe or in other parts of our own country? Are we getting those best practices into our and adopting them better as good CX practitioners? So one of the things that we find is that we're talking a lot about AI. So customer engagement in retail, a lot of it is and looks at AI towards providing solutions. So a couple of points that I want to make is that yes, AI is no longer just a new buzzword. It's no longer an emerging technology. It is something that is now part of our lives. And while I want to because it's very glamorous to talk about AI, but the reality check is as follows, that Pure AI is not what we are talking about. We're really talking about applied AI. And what do I mean by that? I mean that when we're talking about pure AI, we're really talking about building machines with an overall intellectual ability from or even surpasses us human beings. But that's really decades away. But what's really important to you and me as practitioners are applied AI. And applied AI has many components. And some of those components you can see on the screen over there. Components which will sort of help a traditional customer service organization to become more customer centric and more effective. And how will that happen? It will happen by complementing the today. It will add intelligence, it will add effectiveness, it will add efficiency, and that will enable you then to learn more about your customers, predict more things about them, adapt better to their requirements, and potentially allow them to operate autonomously and create self-service possibilities. The second part that I want to bring about is because it's very fashionable, as I said, to talk about AI, and most of it, we talk about AI for AI's sake, but I always ask people, you are solving? What is the customer pain that you want to resolve? What is the commercial or problematic imperative that you want to create a solution for? If you don't have that as a start point, then you will be probably going up the wrong way, and slowly or so you will find there are hardly any users because you didn't start at the right place at the right time. So request is that you must have quantifiable value for any kind of investment that you make, and adapting AI technologies, as you know. The other part is that if you make an investment for a customer, you have to improve his loyalty. You have to be able to predict his repeatability. That will help you in driving a better decision making towards that goal. The second thing which is happening all across the world is really, and in India too, is not only the pervasiveness of AI, but also.
Jacqueline, I think we just lost you there.
Yes. Am I audible now?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Okay. So I think I stopped at the pervasiveness of AI, and
maybe this is a good opportunity for us. I think we have a short poll
yes,
in relation to AI as well. In fact, all those who are on screen, it'll be nice to get a sense of the people who are attending. So we'll maybe just quickly do a quick poll to everyone on screen. So I think that if you can see the poll right now on your screen, it should be right. Your company is currently using AI in customer service. It'd be nice to see this, and then we'll sort of take it from there, Jacqueline.
Oh, that's nice. Yes.
So everyone on screen, you're allowed to vote right now. So the question is very simple. What best describes how your company is currently using AI in customer service? The options are: AI currently plays a regular role in our customer service; 2, with an AI trial or pilot in our customer service; or 3, we do not currently use AI in our customer service; or 4, we do not use AI in any form. It'd be nice to know the kind of audience that we have in today. So we'll just keep the poll up for just a few more seconds. All those who want to vote, it should be up on your screen. Just go there, of the 4 options that you'd like. And so for those who are just joining us right now, there's a short poll that we're doing right now. So on your screens, you should have a question. What best describes how your company is service? Excellent. We'll stop the poll right now. So a good number of people do not currently use AI in customer service. There's a bunch of them who are actually experimenting with AI. So that's quite interesting. So very mixed audience we have here today. Excellent.
So one last bit on AI, since it's so relevant to all of us, and it's so accessible to us as a technology or a set of technologies, is really the goal is to increase efficiency, enhance customer empowerment, enhance us giving or providing service, allowing our service providers to give proactive action to our customers, and finally reducing the friction across the interaction chain. So these really are our key imperatives when we adopt AI or components of it, depending on the culture is all around the place, but you can be sure that while it is uncharted territory, it's going to get more and more, in your face, and it's going to be no longer. It's no longer going to be, just a peripheral story as it is today. So while we've heard of voice recognition and ordering for replenishment and routinely used products, we all have heard about Google Assistant and Alexa. There will be more chances of adoption of this. And in a country like India, where we have so many languages and perhaps literacy is not as penetrated as we would like to be, I think there is going to be a lot and lot of encouraging use cases which we can, look at. Today's Economic Times, carries a huge article on, voice assistants and, interesting work being done by Google in the hinterlands of Uttar Pradesh. So I think we as retailers also will see a lot of action in this space. That people like Best Buy, Sephora, and Nike, retailers who are using Google Shopping Assistant. And so I can just leave you with this thought that voice recognition is gaining momentum. We are probably approaching a turning. Gets better and better. I think we have very encouraging stories which will emanate from this space. But the most important thing, and the next one I dwell with, is something which all of us in India and those of us who are practitioners in law are familiar with, is the supply chain, right? So we all know how supply chain can impact customer experience. And we also know that besides the fact that, infrastructure is one big key thing, it's also seamless, integrated information flow across various value chain which are important. And I think the linchpin of success of especially retail will be how much of investments in supply chain efficiency and expertise will be fueled by AI investments. When I was just a few weeks ago, I found that 30 to 35% of detractors are predominantly from customers who are very annoyed when they come and visit a brick and mortar store. They do not get what they want, or they do not get it consistently, and that really adds to the frustration. So while that's a downside in terms of customer experience, it's also a downside because it's a lost sales opportunity. Faced with so much of options, they're not going to come back again. They'll be incredibly, loyal towards you, which is unrealistic to expect for them to come back when they visited and you didn't give them what they want. Forecasting product and demand cycles will be one big point which we will see AI has fueling supply chain efficiencies. The other thing would be also real-time inventory forecast and transportation metrics, where we will see, just like in the West or just like globally, a huge investment which will come in, which will really impact us all. Some peripheral aspect, and I say peripheral when I talk, is next on the slide. Slow adoption just at this point of time, but again, Sandeep, can we get the next slide in, please? Yes. So blockchain is interesting at this point of time, but yes, there is one big if. For it to work, there should be an end-to-end consistency, no breaks in the chain, and that is a challenge. We all have faced intent, but sometimes the data which we have or the data which we want is either not accessible, or it's not accessible in the way we want it. So, this is something which is perhaps not going to shake us up anytime soon, but we see potential here as retailers for improved visibility and greater transparency across the chain. So I read very recently of an example where Walmart has launched a food traceability initiative from farm to plate, and that was done using blockchain. The other use case could be for counterfeits. So branded manufacturers, for example, of luxury goods, where you have so much of counterfeiting all around the place, and blockchain could have interesting usage in that perspective. Finally, a little more glamorous, which is robotics. Yes, robotics gaining ground in retail. We will see a lot more presence in brick and mortar stores, in physical stores. I think robotics can have immense advantages, and be not only in inventory management and in warehouses, but also in a smart shelf technology for replenishment. So I think there is potential in this space. I wanted to walk through the points that I had to introduce when we were talking. So I'm sending this over to you, Sandeep.
Thanks a lot, Jacqueline. That was very, very insightful, pretty comprehensive as well. I think we learned a few things ourselves and a lot of insights there in terms of how we respond to customers, because we as a company are constantly with better customer engagement. So I think this view from you, somebody who's actually an end user yourself and also CX thought leader, brings a lot of perspective. And I think I'm hoping a lot of the attendees today have gained a lot of insight as well with regards to that. But we've got a bunch of questions for you as well before we go into the Q&A. Quick fireside chat. I want to do another short poll with some of our attendees. This is in more lines with CX itself. I think what we're trying to understand here, again, it should come up on your screen. We'd like to understand, what are your top CX challenges today? And I'm sure you're attending this webinar today because you have a particular interest in customer experience. Deliver it for your customers. So what is the biggest challenge you're facing today? Lack of real-time customer insights? Is there a difficulty in measuring CX or convincing the business functions on the importance of CX itself? Personalization. Jacqueline did mention that a lot today. Siloed approach to managing CX, or lack of a central CX strategy, or there are currently no CX challenges whatsoever. So feel free to jump onto this poll as well, another poll we're running right now. So what are your top CX challenges today? There are a bunch of options to get a sense of we'll just keep it up for another 5 seconds before we log off on this particular poll, and then go into the specific questions we had for Jacqueline. Okay, thank you. I'll switch off the poll now. Quite a while, and you've also seen probably a dynamic shift in the kind of customers that have come in today. So what are the demands that today's customers make on you as a service provider?
So it's very interesting that while I spoke of the younger demo, going to be a very significant part of the customer base. However, the repeated request of customers continues to be, give us right assortment and give us enough choice. So that takes up almost 35% of the mind share of customers who talk about a particular topic when we ask them, what is it that you want us as a retailer to do? Or whenever I was in my retail stint. The other part of it was knowledgeable and responsive staff, which is again another 25 to 30% of people who talk about it, because the biggest turn-offs are when you have people who don't know about their products, they don't know adequately about the promotions, they are not really interested in helping, they're more interested in or inward-looking KRAs, and those can be really very really off-putting. And working on these perspectives, we realize that employee engagement also is ripe for digitization. So when we talk about customers who've moved, customers who are embracing digital, we forget that we have a big cohort of young Indian employees who almost are like digital natives, like customers. They have the same psychometry of need for real-time information, data bites, data snacks, giving them feeds in audio-visual format. So they have the same needs as a customer. In corporates, we forget that we actually have this huge cohort who can be a multiplier to the business simply because they have a huge influencing ability by their face-to-face interactions with customers. So this is one aspect of experience which is ripe for digitization. And of course, non-availability and the right assortment at the right time is another big one. And these are things that, are predominantly on our customers' wish list when they they are interacting with us.
And another question is, so having been in the industry for quite a while now, what are some of the CX initiatives that you have tested the waters with in 2018, and how do you see some of these initiatives actually playing out this year, 2019?
So some of the things that we've done, last stints has been putting in place NPS, which is basically one of the tenets of customer engagement is to listen to your customers. And if you know that in the traditional way, people, would the manager would ask his junior, and his junior would ask his line, and then you would be having a whole chain of contorted customer feedback, or you would have to spend millions of rupees to get a market research done, which perhaps may not be even as accurate as it's possible as it's required to be. So we found that putting in place a feedback mechanism where it is direct from customers and untouched by by various levels in the hierarchy was something which was very good. Dashboards made a lot of people uncomfortable, but because it was transparent and straight from the customer, it is accepted with humility. And you don't have a choice, because if your customer is telling you that, and enough of customers are telling you that, and your trends are showing that it is worsening or improving in a certain direction, then you know that what you're doing has to be done better, or what you're doing is working, and that sort of motivates you. So I think feedback, which is a very essential component of customer, I'm proud of doing. And this was with respect to the post-sales feedback seeking. We've also started a process of pre-sales, which is basically social listening. So social listening need not always be post-sales, but something which is very, very energizing, because that's the thing which really challenges you to put processes in place and help you act in an appropriate manner. So that's one kind of thing which was done. The other thing is that because retail in India at least has a lot of members, and these members are subscribed to a particular with a subscription fee, and you have a validity period, etc., etc., but they register for it, and therefore you have a fair amount of information about these members. Now if you're able to correlate it with the POS data, then you get a little more information of customer he is, what is his life cycle, what are his imperatives, what are the brands that he buys, when does he buy, frequently, infrequently. Those are the things that enable you to learn much more about your data, and that helps you in contextual pitching, rather than just carpet bombing some poor soul who's your customer there. And the other thing is that you can also pick and choose the channel of communication. You can improve and fine tune the time when you will communicate to him, and that will really help in this entire customer engagement journey towards making moments of delight and moments of wow, just to quote you from the beginning. The other thing is that we have a mix, rather in India you have smaller formats and larger formats, and predominant in India is someone who depends on knowing or having a neighborhood connect. So we took that innate kind of knowledge which is available in your traditional mom and pop store of saying that neighborhood connect, and we tried experimenting with an ordering app which can be used within the vicinity. And that's another digital foray or digital use case in which you're saying that, okay, this is one place where I can beat a big service provider who's probably having a warehouse very far away, and make that ordering a little more seamless and exactly when you need it as a customer. So these are a few things that we really worked with.
Okay. And I think one thing that we've always seen, and this is prevalent in most companies as well. So what are typical roadblocks that internal teams face in sort of delivering a unified customer experience?
So I think the biggest obstacle is your cultural mindset. Whether you may have strategies and you may have technologies and you may have brilliant minds, but if your bent of mind is not towards customer solving approach or customer first approach, or you are very siloized and you do not own the customer experience. So ownership and co-ownership of customer experience are very nice words to use, but very difficult to execute. So these are all evolutionary steps, and it really needs a lot of hand holding across various parts of organizations. And we have to put our money where our mouth is, that if you're talking the story of customer first, if you're talking the story of customer engagement, if you're talking about the story of owning the customer's experience, then as leadership through and through the organization, that has to be reflected in behaviors too.
Thanks, Jacqueline. And typically, so for a nationally distributed retail brand, where does DCX, digital customer experience, actually become relevant?
So digital customer experience is now, we can't ask this question anymore because it is relevant today. It is relevant for every one of us who is in the marketplace, who is competing for the customer's mind share and wallet share. So digital customer experience is a real-time, faster, giving you speed to market, and it gives you all those benefits. So these are the things which really, it's very, very, very relevant. So it's relevant to both customer experience, it's relevant to both employee experience. It's hugely important. It will also help you to put your monies and to correlate it with the outcomes, whether it is to get more members, whether it is to have your more members to renew, whether it is to get more conversions, whether it is to get more walk-ins in the store. So whatever it is, we are using digital as an enabler to do that.
Excellent. We'll take one more question on the fireside chat, but just for everyone out there, if you'd like to ask Jacqueline questions, feel free. There's a Q&A option on your application. Feel free to post in your questions, and we'll take a few of those questions before we close. So last question from us from the fireside chat will be, what factors govern your digital engagement strategy?
I spoke about this actually. It's what is the customer pain I'm trying to resolve? What is the business problem that I want to tackle? What is the ROI that I am expecting, and what is the outcome I'm expecting for this investment? Is it something that I need to do a complete revamp of? Is it something that I need to just do a plug and play? So these are questions that really, these are the factors that, govern a digital engagement strategy, which is based on, again, your mindset. Bending are you towards, whatever you want to do in the organization or achieve in the organization.
Thanks, Jacqueline. I think that's very, very informative. So everyone out there who'd like to ask questions, now's your time. Pop into the Q&A section and just drop in your questions. We'll take a few of those questions. But before that, we'd like to do a short poll as well. One more poll before we take in questions from you, the attendees of this webinar. There's a Q&A section below. Please feel free to check it out. So I think one thing I'd like to ask you is, anyways, we have Freshworks, and the product we're talking about today a little bit about is Freshdesk as well. So we'd like to know, would you like to know how Freshdesk can help you solve some of your top CX challenges? We've got to ask this question because it's relevant to us. So if you're quite interested to know what can we do for you, the answers are fairly simple. Yes, please, not right now, or no thanks. Perfectly fine. I'll just keep this up for a little while before we go into the Q&A section. So feel free, the Q&A section, there should be an option on your application to ask the questions, and we'll take a few. We have a little time remaining, so I think we'll take a few questions. I'm going to stop the poll now. Okay, first question, Jacqueline, I think we've got this one. This one's from Vipin, and Vipin asks us, how is DCX future in the India pharma scenario? This is interesting.
So I'm sorry, I have very, very limited information about the pharma sector, but I think finally it's the same concepts which, irrespective of the sector that you, and I've moved across 5 sectors now, and I can say with a little bit of confidence that it's irrespective of the sector that you have, it is what you want your customer to feel about your product. It is what is the kind of stories that you want to tell him. It's the kind of what is the end end goal between you and your customer, and how long you want him to be along with you. And that is really going to be a driver of any kind of strategy.
Thank you. That's from Ripin. We have John here asking another question. This is interesting. So this is more from the line of metrics. So if you're looking at customer engagement, what are the kind of metrics one should be looking at?
So customer engagement is, I agree, it's a very nice English general term, but the key KPIs that you can really measure would be, of course, your NPS scores. It could also be the trends of scores, whether it is from the social media or whether it is from post-sales experience or from browsing experience. It will also be how many converts you are able to do. It's also how much of top line you can get by a customer interaction, because you are able to intuitively pitch to him at the right time and the right place, vis-a-vis a traditional pitching which you do through other means. So these would be KPIs to look for. And they have direct, the best part of it is that they have direct correlation to the investment that you make and the business case that you're going to be presenting.
Excellent. We'll take one question and then one more question after that. So one question for now is, how much should customer experience actually be automated, and how does one go about doing it?
So there's no straight answer to this. One of the key is A, how much of monies you have. B, how much of problems you have with respect to the business goals that you want to achieve. Once you have those two answers, you will be able to understand whether you need to do, a large scale, whether you need to do it, in incremental steps. So in my very limited experience, I have found that incrementalization, while it may not be very glamorous, is something which is more helpful than rather, taking a broom and cleaning it all and building anew. Because finally you're hurting customers. You have to explain why there is such a huge disruption, and those are perspectives.
Thanks, Jacqueline. I think the last question we'll take now. So for the ones who we can't answer right now, we'll get back to you by email. But this one's actually a very interesting question. It's kind of, I think, almost a follow-up to the previous one. But I think it's very interesting in terms of what we've been discussing as well today, is more in the lines of, if we need to treat customers as humans about AI, especially with automated interactions.
Yeah, so I'll take this in two parts. So I want to use the humanness first to answer this question. See, a lot of customers, including myself, when we deal with big organizations, so supposing you're dealing with a big public sector bank, or you're dealing with a government service, or you're dealing with a large company who has multiple customers, you feel you're just another number. And when you're therefore approaching, you're so scared that you may need to do the second trip and the third trip and the fourth call to complete whatever you had requested for. So one of the advantages or the energizing, liberating things about AI is, because if you're going to be building for consistency and your logics are clear and you have identified the right customer journey, then you would be able to take care of these little manualisms which can sometimes create fractures in a customer journey. The second part is, again, because you're talking about automation, how much to automate. It's how much your customer wants it. Now, if your customer is well receiving for automation, well and good. But I know of customers who say that, "Theek hai, you've given me this app and this app will give me notifications, but can you do me a favor? Can you open the app and tell me how much of cashback I've received?" So, there is no straight answer. It's how much of those segments are large enough for you to address first. And then as an evolutionary journey, then you start evolving answers for the other parts or the other segments of your customers also.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Jacqueline. I think before we close, maybe one roundup of kind of what is the big takeaway that we'll take away from here, Jacqueline. If there's something that you had to tell everyone in terms, I think one of the key points that I easily picked out is the fact that understand your customers better, build your automation journeys or AI journeys or your customer experiences, depending on the kind of customer that you're going to go after, and try to make them as personal as possible.
Yes, I think I would, what you said resonates with me. It's the simple four realities which I said. One is customers are humans, customers don't like to wait, customers need consistency, and customers would like to be informed in advance. They like to be given suggestions and recommendations in advance so that then they can make up their mind rather than you force them to do anything because of your business imperatives.
Thanks a lot for that. Thanks a lot, Jacqueline, first of all, for doing this webinar with us. It was a privilege having you on based on your experience and all the stuff that you've done in the past, for giving us this wonderful insight. We'd also like to thank all those who managed to attend the webinar today as well. We had a large number of attendees. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email us. We'll get back to you with those answers. We'll also send you a recording of this webinar session as well, so that you can keep it for future use. I'd also quickly like to thank a couple of people who have also worked on this webinar. Aditi for program managing this webinar, and also especially to Samhita, who's helped design the entire webinar and manage all the nitty-gritties that are required to put this all together. Thanks a lot, guys. And thanks a lot, Jacqueline, for being part of this. And
Yeah.
thank you for attending.
Thanks, Sandeep. I'm privileged to have been invited. And thanks, Samhita and Aditi. And thanks to you, Sandeep, for anchoring this so well. And marvelous audience, thank you very, very much.